Three Valentines is the 14th episode of the 6th season of Frasier. This is directed by the wonderful Kelsey Grammer, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And it's an absolutely fantastic episode, very funny, very, very well done. So I'll go through things chronologically, and it starts off with Niles getting ready to entertain somebody. It's Valentine's, of course, and he's getting ready to entertain somebody at Frasier's apartment. Frasier's out for the evening, and Niles decides to iron his trousers, and it gets a little bit chaotic, and he's basically running around the room fainting, and Eddie's barking. Eddie's in this scene quite a lot, and I rather adored him. And because Niles is so preoccupied, he ends up setting his trousers on fire because he puts the iron down flat on the trousers. So what does he do? He picks up the trousers and throws them onto the sofa, which has to be the most stupid thing he could do. But of course, the sofa is then about to catch fire, and he's running around with the fire extinguisher, and it's absolutely crazy. And he ends up fainting in front of the door, the fire alarm's going off. The music in this scene was a really lovely touch. I think it would have worked just as well with Niles running around and Eddie running around, but the music really helped to just make it feel like a really quick scene with just absolute chaos, and it was very, very well done. The second scene, or the second part of the episode, focuses on Frasier, and Frasier is on a date, but he calls Roz because he doesn't know if he's on a business date or a romantic date for Valentine's. He's having dinner with Cassandra, played by Virginia Madsen, and initially it could have been a business date, but then it was also on Valentine's Day. She didn't realise it was Valentine's Day when they made the plans, so Frasier is really uncertain, and Roz basically tells him, look for the signs. So he does, and immediately she kisses him when she comes into the restaurant. Okay, it must be a romantic date. But then she kisses the maitre d'. Maybe not. But then she's wearing quite a revealing dress. Maybe it's romantic. But she'd just come from another occasion where she had to dress up. So maybe not. And basically throughout this scene, and then the scene in her hotel room immediately afterwards, as soon as we get a clue to suggest that it's a romantic date, she then says something to counter-argue that. And it is so funny. The pacing is absolutely fantastic. And at one point, Frasier phones Roz again. And she said something that I think really helped to heighten Frasier's confusion and anxiety. Because she said to him, if you don't make a move, and she's expecting you to, she's going to feel rejected. Which is a valid point. But also, if Frasier makes a move and it's not a romantic date, that could be a real problem for their working relationship. So Frasier has no idea what to do. And just seeing Frasier getting more and more confused is so funny. I think from the point where she's in the bathroom in the hotel room and Frasier starts to get undressed, and then he's getting dressed, and then undressed, and dressed again. And just from that point on until the end of this, it was just absolutely fantastic. And she tells him, why don't you slip into something more comfortable? I'm sure there's something in the closet. Frasier thinks there'll be a robe or something in there. So he goes, and he's basically half naked at this point, and she asks if he found the slippers, because apparently he stepped in a puddle, and wearing the slippers would be obviously more comfortable. So it's just absolutely fantastic. And she says to him, do you know what I'm thinking? Which is just so funny, because no, Frasier has no idea what she's thinking, because every second sentence contradicts the previous sentence. And I absolutely loved it. And they end up in bed together in the dark, and she's asleep, and he still has no idea what's happening. The reason they're in bed is because he was going to come back to the hotel the following morning for breakfast, so he might as well just stay there. And I love the fact that even by the end of it, we still don't really know what's happening. And I loved it. Beautifully executed, very funny. Frasier's increasing confusion and anxiety was just absolutely brilliant. And then the third part of the episode is Daphne and Martin. And Daphne and Martin decide, since they're alone on Valentine's, they'll go out to dinner together. And which I have to say, it doesn't seem like the best move, because there's just this assumption that if you're going out to dinner with somebody on Valentine's Day, that you're in a romantic relationship. And Daphne can see everybody else around them do appear to be in romantic relationships, and she gets upset. So Martin tries to comfort her and then move on, but she's interrogating him about her positive qualities. And he says some really nice things to her, but then somebody refers to Martin as being her father, And obviously now Martin feels upset because why would they assume he's her father? Why wouldn't they think that he can get a younger girl, somebody as young and attractive as Daphne? So he starts to ask her about his positive qualities, and it was very entertaining. And then Daphne starts to speak fondly about their relationship. It may not be a romantic relationship, but they enjoy each other's company. They enjoy living together. And then she said to him, "It's sort of like you're my pet." And she tries to liken their relationship to that of Martin and Eddie, which I just loved. And Martin didn't want to be called a pet, so they start arguing, and it's a funny end to that. And I just thought it was the whole episode was just brilliant. It was a great way to tell these separate stories. Usually I don't like separate stories, particularly if they don't end up tying together, which in this case they don't. They are separate narratives for each of the characters, all happening on the same day. Usually that kind of thing doesn't interest me. I prefer it when we have an overarching narrative and stories interweaving. But this one was just so funny all of the way through that I can't fault it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I can't really point to any personal highlights because everything just worked so well from start to finish. I guess if I had to pick one highlight, it would be Eddie, because Eddie is just absolutely adorable. But everybody, dog and human actors, gave amazing performances. So funny, so well written, absolutely fantastic. For me to thoroughly enjoy this kind of narrative structure, that's a really good sign. I thought Three Valentines was pretty perfect, and ultimately, it's a really fantastic episode of Frasier.